about manga for an hour, I can yell about a variety of things. Hey folks, welcome to the SAF podcast. I'm here, your delicious new host, Mr. Matthew Ferrugia, and I have with me a couple of wonderful friends because, listen, I could probably do a podcast by myself, but that would be absolutely terrible. So we're not trying that out. Instead, I have my good friends with me. First of all, let's go with Mr. Sterling Silver. Sterling, how have you been nowadays?
Oh boy, I've been great. Nothing much more, but I am here for you children. Wink wink, cough cough.
You are here to not only look out for the children, but to shout your factually incorrect opinions about boxing movies. But we'll get more on that later.
Looks like someone who hasn't seen all the films is being judged. Wow!
We will get to more of that later.
This is almost as ridiculous as the fact that Oprah, who isn't Jewish, has Hanukkah bark on her Christmas list on Amazon.
Yes.
But it's not enough for us to have a boxing elitist on the podcast. We also need to have a fedora elitist on the podcast too.
Men's fashion, thank you.
Which brings us to Mr. Josiah. Josiah, my good friend, how are you doing today?
I can name more hats than you can name people who love you in your life.
Fucker. Fuck.
Just take that in for a second. Savor it.
Yeah. I will fight you on that eventually, don't worry. But let's start with the one that all of us actually sat down and made sure to watch, because it's kind of a consistent part of the docket nowadays.
Yes.
Gentlemen, how did we feel
about Goblin Slayer Episode 6?
Ventral Audio.
You mean
Italy
Golden Wind?
I mean fucking Vento Audio.
Yeah, Episode 6 of Golden Boy.
I don't care what Crunchyroll says, because Crunchyroll also calls it Moody Jazz, and that's also full of shit.
Yeah, this is better than Zipperman. It's half right. It's terrible to see when they get the whole thing wrong.
Yeah.
Why not sticky appendages? Or sticky digits.
Funky digits.
Or anti-Butterfingers.
Now,
Bart Simpson.
I had to get caught up recently. Not only did I miss the past couple of podcasts.
Well, technically, we didn't even have podcasts.
We haven't had a podcast since the last time you were on.
I thought that
we did a quickie, but we haven't had a full podcast.
Yep.
Fair enough. So yeah, I guess we all need to get caught up on at least a couple episodes of Vento Audio.
Yeah, it's the second actual stand battle. The first one was Zipman doesn't count because nobody actually won, but because Giorno was too much of a big baby to kill people like his daddy did, and so. Yeah, we got the second stand battle, and of course everything's still explained in epic detail, because guess what, this is part 5. I'm sorry, Sterling, that's just how it's going to go.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It doesn't really stop with this one, honestly.
Yeah, we're in the part where we're 2 parts into 3 parts of Boats and Hoes right now, and they just defeated the Hoe, so now it's just boats.
Mm-hmm. Well, to go a little bit more further than that, since the last time we even had a podcast, there was at least 4 episodes that we haven't really gone over, but we can summarize at least 2 sets of them. Which is
we'll get down to it, yeah.
Black Sabbath and that
Dark
boat
Sabbath,
one.
thank you.
Yeah, we
really about
Shadow Sabbath. April. We need to discuss the absolutely hideous monster that is Mr. Polpo, who despite being a capo, as we discussed recently, is kind of a non-issue in the entirety of Venturati. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, the whole point is that he's a man who's shaped like a bed. I mean, what else do you expect from him?
Uh-huh. And he hides behind huge pizzas.
I mean, don't you?
That was one of the most off-putting shots to me for pretty much everything that I caught up recently with today. Or Vento, which is the past 4 episodes. Take a look at that shot, and it doesn't even look like a pizza. It looks like a giant, disgusting, like, massive bread. And he's just like, look, someone brought me this delicious pile of crap. I'm gonna just slurp this up like a piece of spaghetti.
Well,
yeah,
it is
Italian.
Yeah, it's in Italy, so you know. Our perception of pizzas are vastly different over there.
Canadian pizza is the definitive correct way to.
Oh, you shut your mouth.
Listen, I let you have the steaks. I let you say, okay, those American steaks sound great. You can't have everything. I'll fight you for a pizza. Trust me.
Okay.
Something.
Okay. Matthias, calm down.
Oh boy.
When you get to Oklahoma, I'll take you to a pie shop called Andolini's, and you will understand what true pizza tastes like.
You know what? I am willing to let you to entertain the idea of this pizza competition. In the hopes that it will let this conversation and the Matthias thing die for the moment, because at that point, that's my only problem.
Have you ever had homegrown, homemade smoked mozzarella that's made in the shop on your pie?
Why the fuck do you guys have all these cool food places?
You don't understand, okay? Oklahoma has 3 things, okay? It's got football. It's got leading healthcare, and it's got restaurants out the wazoo.
Ours is literally free healthcare. Why are you going to flex about healthcare with me?
Because we have the highest quality of healthcare. That's why we have 4 cancer treatment series. That's why people come here to retire now.
Yep. This be true, boy.
Fucking. Alright. Fine. You can have your fantastic.
But you can talk about quote unquote free healthcare all you want, but the thing is that we have the best quality.
You can flex with your fantastic.
Maybe not in the entire continent of the States, but in the entirety of the Midwest and Southwest, we have the best.
I will permit you to flex your fantastic healthcare and your 64-ounce steaks that Bobby ate off that episode of King of the Hill, and that
was in Amarillo, Texas. Thank you.
Yep.
All of America just looks the same to me. I'm sorry.
No, but you will be dining with me and having a $40 steak at the Cattleman's restaurant over a century old, in which both Clinton, Bush, and Obama have eaten steaks at.
If we're gonna go there, then we might as well not stop at the $40 steak. We might as well jack this up a bit. If y'all got any finer pieces of meat, but if you don't, and I've overestimated you a little bit, then you know.
Okay, no, you don't understand, Matthew. Cattleman's restaurant is called Cattleman's.
Your limit. If 40 is your limit.
No. You don't understand, okay? $40 gets you whatever steak you want. Okay?
I have misplaced my trust in steak taste. I'm sorry. This was my mistake, not yours.
You don't understand what you're saying, okay? Cattleman's is a restaurant that owns their own beef. They have their own cattle ranch. That's a couple miles away from the restaurant. Everything is fresh. These steaks are aged, and you don't understand. You can go to a fancy restaurant and get a more expensive steak, and they may season it. They may put all this smoke and mirrors on the steak. But if you want steak, you want to taste the beef, you'll go to Cattleman's, you'll get a $40 steak, you'll get it, it'll cover your plate, you'll get potatoes, you'll get green beans, you'll get a side salad, and then the only thing they have on the menu, besides the 8 different types of steaks you can order, is that you can get soda pop or you can get alcohol.
Well, you have to have at least one of those. So, okay, fine. I think that I get the gist of it. It's a Red Dead Redemption 2, pretty much 24/7 there. Sounds wonderful, but I remain skeptical until that steak gets in my mouth.
You don't understand. Texas lawmakers come up from Texas to eat at this place. You may get like Salt Bay steak, when it's like aged with bourbon and all that sort of stuff, but they don't use good beef. This beef is so good that you don't need anything but salt, pepper, and steak sauce.
I have tried good beef in my time, and I am jacking this bar quite high.
Okay.
We shall see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Steak man extraordinaire has come to the rescue. Yes.
So yes, Popo eating that pizza.
Pizza, yes.
Like finest Oklahoman steaks that money can buy. Yes, just slurping it all straight down the gullet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's stop doing this whole summary thing. If they want to watch JoJo, they can watch JoJo. We're not here to preach people about JoJo. Now here's what David Productions is good and here's what David Productions is bad. That's what we need to talk about here with the JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
The consistency.
Yeah.
And Araki himself, of course.
Well,
He's doing fine.
Yeah.
That's different. I mean, we already know from day one that JoJo is the biggest Gary Stu in all of JoJo. not even joking one bit.
I'm actually not going to fight you there because you're completely right.
And Black Sabbath is the most broken and most underutilized stand to have ever been used, since for some reason he just doesn't understand that people have shadows as well. But whatever.
It's true, but no. The important thing with that is that the most ridiculous part of that is that even though Black Sabbath got defeated, he can respawn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which for that quarter-second shot of him trying to come to rescue Popo was made note of quite well.
I don't know if he was trying to rescue him. It was just like him showing that he has that stand and he's just going away.
Well, at the end of the day, all our stands have a self-preservation kind of instinct, so... He was most likely
even
trying
if it's
to...
remote controlled?
Not everyone can stop a bullet quite as well as
yeah, but that's not remote controlled, though. It's a close proximity.
Yeah, whatever it's called. Whatever the lingo-gistics is.
I mean, gosh, sheer heart attack was it just attacked anything that had the highest heat contact.
Yeah.
And then he could pull back when he wanted to.
When even the author himself half the time forgets the rules of his own franchise, we don't need to worry.
Okay, when the author himself
standard.
Basically gets called a fraud by the guy who writes Hunter x Hunter when he describes a man ability that's the exact same as King Crimson, but explains it in one page and does it flawlessly.
Oh boy. Yep.
So, if that's not a call out, I don't know what is. But yes, so we got the team, we got the Gay Boys, Team Gay Boys is together now.
Yep.
And I love it. It's some of the best examples that I've seen of character interactions within JoJo, like within the whole franchise, rather. Seeing them fuck with one another, like particularly the scene where Mista pours Sprite on the boombox.
You mean Spotlight?
I love their whole fucking dynamic. It's wonderful. It's just a bunch of shitty kids trying to fuck each other.
Oh boy.
So I did that.
That's the whole point. The Misfits, they're not like chosen Destiny Stars like the Stardust Crusaders.
They're not the golden hearts of Morio. They're just basically that's how it breaks down to.
Well, part 4 is more like Scooby-Doo than... and this part's more like Ghostbusters than anything else.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm having a good time with it, though, just to just to recap the most recent episode. Now that we have our team together and we've already gone through that and established what's nice about it.
The most important part is that they didn't show the dance at the end of the 6th episode. Everybody was bummed, and they're taking way too long for this fight. But hopefully they speed it up afterwards. And it's just they're over-explaining things, even though this is like the 3rd stand battle.
Yep.
And they're kind of going into that rut like Stardust Crusaders was. But
yeah,
we'll see how quickly they get out of it, because it took Stardust Crusaders quite a while.
But how about that fucking sound design?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
that
good.
That moment that Moody Blues popped up.
You mean Moody Jazz?
Moody Jazz, thank you.
No, I do not.
Thank you very much, for
Matthew. We're never gonna get that scholarship unless you keep following their rules.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get that good high Guardian Spice money unless we can do the ad reads and name the JoJo stands wrong just like they do.
Yeah.
I will never become mayor of Crunchyroll Town like this. That's a sacrifice that I need to make. It's quite. Do you guys have any good summarize and closing thoughts of the 2 most recent episodes where like this stood out to you and you want to discuss the adaptation of what we've got so far?
I very much really extremely enjoyed Giorno's lighter mission for like the first half, and then the second half kind of went the way of just hugely broken stands being broken and misutilized and utilized in a way that is just like, oh wow, okay. But that first part of like, I guess episode 3, that one was like really intriguing and like was like kind of like, oh my goodness, I'm actually following along and really liking what's happening.
I like it when he turns the lamp into the python and then burns himself and goes, ooh.
Yep.
You walked into that episode thinking like, listen, you can do a lot of stuff with turning shit into a living thing. That's all fine and wonderful. Mm-hmm. But not even JoJo can turn Morning Glories into a really practical, a useful weapon in combat, and then lo and behold, Giorno pulls some bullshit again, and it actually happened. They're quite wonderful.
Yeah, and the stand battle with Black Sabbath is
It
makes sense.
A better introductory into stand battles because we have long range, and it's like this is how long ranges work. Remember, Koichi? Remember how he knows about long range things? Oh my gosh!
Do you remember Hierophant Green from even further along before that?
Hierophant Green.
Hierophant Green. Green.
Hierophant? Yeah, what about him?
Hierophant Meadery.
But yeah,
he's a beautiful long-range stand himself. It doesn't really feel like we need this much of a recap on past content.
Every JoJo, whether it be manga or anime, manga has to reintroduce the quote-unquote rules.
Yeah.
But however ridiculous they are and however we never follow them, they always have to be implemented. It doesn't matter if you're trying to build an audience that should already know or not. It's always part of the first 2 stand battles. This is how it is.
Yeah.
And I guess to be entirely fair, just to add to that point, some of us like to skip parts. So if you skipped a part where something was introduced, like a specific stand types, then hey, if you didn't bother with the Vento manga, then hey, look, I suppose people have too refined tastes to read this stuff in order. So we got a recap for the uninvested.
Yep.
Uninformed, yes.
Yes.
And
thank you.
I wasn't very much of a fan of the Black Sabbath thing, but at the end of that 4th episode, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Always watch out for them bananas, though. They can always, it's the natural predator of fat people. who forget about things when they're eating. So yeah.
Whether it be banana gun or hand banana, you don't want to ever touch banana.
Yep.
Yeah. When you've got a villain whose primary method of attack is to potentially turn you into a guy with superpowers, it's a hell of a threat. What can I say?
Yeah.
That could, regardless, though, their production is doing a marvelous job as they do with this new JoJo. And we'll see how well they keep it, because things start picking up here after the shippy ship. So
I am really looking forward to the fight with Clockwork. So Q pistols, rather, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we've more or less covered that. Now
the boat stuff.
The boat.
The boats.
It's a boat, and it's a boat, and they threw a second boat on top of the boat.
It's a boat with a parentheses S at the end.
Okay, so everything in Part 5, it has to be it's asterisk. It always has to be this minute little detail that you never think of, and nobody is ever thinking of, because why would anybody ever think about that? And so, like Mr. President, the turtle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit weird, and all stand battles are, we somehow got out of it because this one happenstance. It's all coincidences, and it's all little minute details that nobody pays attention to except for that one MC who somehow pulls out the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Welcome to Part 5, and for some reason people love Part 5 for that, even though it's probably way lower on my list than a lot of people's.
Giorno turned a rock into a rabbit, and the day was saved.
Remember when Cars did that and nobody was impressed?
Everyone was impressed. No. Everyone was like, "How the fuck did you do that? It's incredible."
No, they were too infatuated with his body.
It's shooting dubstep out of all of its pores, and it's drilling itself into Nazis. This is
Yeah.
Yeah. JoJo's going alright so far. We've got boats draped over boats. We've got some nice new stands. The reveal of Moody Jazz was quite nice. That stand got an ass. That was a hell of a shot. All of the ass that was supposed to be directed towards Mista was taken away, redirected to our friend Moody Blues. An absolute disgrace.
So I'm not 100% like certain on that stand, but can somebody re-explain to me what Moody Blues is all about?
Okay, so Moody Jazz, basically, you can...
We're never going to settle on this fucking line.
You can... Okay, so it could take the form of anybody in the area of which you're in recent time. I think it's like half an hour. And it can replay that person's personal experience. Up until like half an hour, and so basically just morphs into him and has a timer on the forehead, and basically it's just like a DVD where you can stop, fast forward, rewind, slow mo. So basically, its only use and purposes is for early battles when they need to find out what the person is.
Yep.
So when he was using
in a situation where you need to gather intel, then all of a sudden it becomes way less.
Yeah, but it's completely useless while it's transformed into somebody else and has zero defense. So unless you have somebody protecting you, you're pretty much dead.
So is he also like some sort of a punch ghost as well, or like without?
He can punch. He's just not very good at it.
No, he's the weakest stand in the whole. Physically, he's the weakest stand in the whole gang.
But his stand ability itself is just pretty good, and the use that he is using it in...
It's resourceful, yeah. I mean, if you were a cop, which he used to be...
Yeah.
But now that he's just a trying to be a gang star, it's not really super applicable. Like I said, it's only used really in the early fights. He really has no capable offensive... abilities. You can't really keep up with the Ubermen that the other stand users have.
Yeah.
But, you know.
This ain't no Echoes Act 3.
It's something.
Sorry, Sterling. It's not the hand. It's not along those lines. As far as like,
I mean,
can I make a fight scene with this? Is a concern.
Honestly, Moody Jazz is the worst supporting character stand in probably all of JoJo. As far as the weakest and limited uses.
Yeah.
So
but I guess knowledge is half
you
the
can't
battle.
really, turn that on its head and then like have somebody explode because you used your power in a certain way. It's like
Yeah.
it has really no offensive. It's full support.
Yeah. All right.
That's the basic breakdown. It's
Which
okay.
makes it even more ridiculous that everybody's relying on him.
It's very good. You are able to prepare for a situation well enough. Then it can be great, but more often than not, a pretty standard close range combat stand would be more useful.
Now,
So-
correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't almost all of the stand users in this little group not really that great, except for Cough Cough Zipper Man and Golden Wind?
Aerosmith is pretty great.
Well, isn't he only
Smith
used
is
like
more a
one-
mid-range stand. No, it's really mid-range. It can be used close.
I mean, I forgot about Guido Mista, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his. I mean, it's it's not a melee. It's
Yeah.
that's the thing. We got some long distance stand guys in this group, a lot more than usual. So 'cause usually, like Stardust Crusaders, it was all
Yeah.
close range. I mean, Hierophant Green could do some things, but I mean, it wasn't anything spectacular.
No one can deflect the Emerald Splash. It's
It's reflected in every turn.
Sterling. Were you a fan of a Whole Horse's Emperor?
What was that again? Who? What did
It
he
was the
do
gun.
again?
It was the gun.
Okay, what did the gun do again?
The stand was a gun.
And the gun and the bullet can move a little bit. It can swerve around things.
And you can shoot other stands.
Okay.
You can shoot through a pipe and try to hit the main protagonist. You can try that if you want to.
But most
I don't
importantly,
recommend it.
say, oh, you have a normal gun. Well, that can't touch a stand, but the stand can touch the bullet. But with Whole Horse's Emperor, the gun can kill a person because of the stand power, and it can also kill a stand.
It's a pretty big gun.
Okay.
The only problem is that it's a revolver, just like all the other guns for some reason. Nobody seems to ever be able to buy a freaking semi-automatic pistol.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you enjoyed that kind of stuff, then you might enjoy what you see with Mr. Guido. But
Well, I hardly remember anything from Whole Horse, but I guess
not,
there's
not much to be
something-
memorable because he really didn't understand that his stand was an impervious gun that he could just shoot magicians red. And that's the best part too, is that you shoot the person standing and they don't deflect the bullet or catch the bullet if they're not at super speed like Josuke's or Jotaro's.
So also one last question concerning Guido Mista's uncontrollable anger towards the number 4.
4, yes.
yeah, fuck yeah, man.
I know that his stand is numbered as well, but it doesn't contain the number 4.
That's right.
And when he's, I guess, when counting is concerned, does he just skip over 4, or because I don't know?
He never stops at
It's-
4.
So then what
He
about
always
5,
wants-
6, and 7, or whatever?
He always wants to. He never wants to think of the number 4.
Because I'm trying to
Yeah.
think about my words carefully, but
Well, what are you
How
trying
come
to
that-
get from this? Like,
okay. So say if for some
What's the end
reason,
Say we had 4 pieces of strawberry cake.
no, he's shooting his gun. Okay, let's say that.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
he shoots 3 bullets. Will
Yeah.
he ever shoot the next bullet, or will he convince himself that will be?
No,
his
he'll shoot
bullet?
2 more bullets at minimum. He'll never, like I said, he'll never stop at 4. That's the thing.
He will empty the chamber because one of his bullets is not numbered 4, so he doesn't care in the first place. As far as he's concerned, he's dodged his bad luck entirely.
Okay, so if he was spinning a wheel and the wheel was numbered 1 through 6 and it landed on 4, he would be the guy who shook the table until it went to 5 or 3. Okay. He doesn't ignore the fact that 4 is there. He doesn't deny the fact that 4 is there. He just won't let the train stop at 4.
Alright, okay. That's a little bit more understandable.
Yeah. He's a bit of a weirdo goofball, but he's also the fan favorite. Also up there with Bruno for the part.
Well, I guess I hope to see that in the future, because right now there's nothing for me here at this point.
There will be. Don't worry. Okay. The clockwork fight is pretty cool. Don't worry.
Okay. Okay, let's get on JoJo now. We got a lot of things to talk about.
Yep.
We got some other stuff to do. Now that Guido's absurdity has been explained, we can move on. We also watched some other stuff recently. I certainly know what I watched and am full to bursting with excitement for, so we can get that over to the way.
Yes,
Sterling.
Oh, what?
What are your thoughts on Konami games?
Suikoden is pretty good. That's about it.
That's not about it. There's something.
Okay, Matt. Why would you even ask such an open-ended question? Let's just ignore the gig a bit. And why you set yourself up for failure every single time? It's obvious you want to talk about Netflix Castlevania. I watched it. You watched it. Let's get down to brass tacks.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck yeah, we watched it.
It was double the first season, 8 episodes.
Yes, it was. Josiah, did you like it?
Yes, I loved it. It was great.
Good. Same here. It's fucking great. It's actually the greatest adaptation of a video game into a piece of cinematic media that I've seen in my entire life. Because before we covered Rampage, I didn't cover Rampage. I didn't fucking watch Rampage. but weirdly enough, as it turned out, it was probably the most fun adaptation of a game into a piece of media like this. And now this is blowing it out of the water. It's not live action, but fuck it, it's an adaptation.
Well, it's important to delineate between series and because they tell their stories differently.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you can't really compare the two for several reasons, but
good old Netflix Castlevania is a adaptation of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Probably the hardest Castlevania game on the NES, but don't worry about that too much because this is not hard to watch. Unless you hate what goes on like during the midway part through a season because you feel that for the reason that kills the tension, it doesn't. It's a fantastic piece of media. One of the few problems that I have with it, and pretty much all the problems just compound at the end. Everything in the first few episodes are great, and even the last one has very few that I feel are out of place. Now, if you're not a fan of the whole Game of Thrones-esque political power struggle thing, where we have nice lengthy breaks from the action to see who's going to stab who in the back, then you're not going to like quite a bit of Netflix Castlevania. I thought
the important part is, unlike Game of Thrones where it goes on episode to episode, this is the middle segment of an 8-episode season.
Yeah.
It does have some slow pacing in the middle, but it isn't a grueling pace. It's fine. It sets itself up well. It doesn't dwell on anything for too long. It gets the point across. It has some subtleties. It doesn't explain everything right to your face. There are some oblivious characters who help, tell the story for those who can't pay attention for more than 2 minutes. But I wouldn't say it was a cinema sin. a tropey at all. It's well done, it's well shot, well voice acted. There was definitely some good money put into it. The special effects and the visual aspects of it are very well done, in a very nice, unique style. That isn't seen in a lot of mainstream animation. So I would give it 8 out of 10 easily.
I wouldn't go as far as calling the pacing of the midway point a cinema sin for myself. I did.
That's what I said as well. I wouldn't call it a cinema sin.
I enjoy it quite a lot. For some people, I could see this being a huge bore. Everything that surrounds the middle point of the gang, basically hanging out in the Belmont hold, is not only great for character building. There is an absolute wealth of Easter eggs if you're a old school Castlevania fan, of the power-ups and enemy corpses that are in essentially every single shot of that setting, which are so much fun to go back and check out again. Trevor gets the vampire killer, or the Morning Star rather, from busting out a piece of the wall. It had naturally. There was a chest sitting there. He busted out a piece of the wall, and then there was a chest inside. Yeah, it's if you have that nostalgia boner for the Castlevania franchise, and you just want to check out something with an overall high production value, then this is everything that you want it to be. One of the few gripes that I had with the climax is how unfortunately little Trevor actually contributes to the final fight with Dracula. Now I know that
kills Dracula though.
Yeah, well, yes, because you could argue that he has to be the one to do that since he's the vampire hunter. And I can't entirely begrudge the writers for needing to do this, because if Trevor or Sypha were to take any more than one hit from this guy, they would just completely buckle and die. I did see quite a few complaints of Alucard being too heavily focused on for the final fight, but it's something that I can only agree with to a slight degree. I liked it overall. It was quite fine. I wanted to see more of Trevor, but the final conflict with Alucard and him were overall pretty well put together. And the fight scene itself was an absolute treat to watch.
Yes, it was very well choreographed. But,
Now, the actual kill scene with Dracula in Alucard's room, I liked it a lot, but once again, this goes back to me not blaming someone if they didn't feel the same way for it.
We can't delve too much into spoilers, man. It's a newish series. We should just tell people to watch it.
This was 8 episodes. It's like not that huge deal, and at the end,
it's not some sort of obscure piece of media which we usually watch. I mean, for once, we're all watching fresh, new stuff. And so it's important to just not dwell on it too much until the project's. I mean, once Castlevania is finished, we can go into more in depth of the series, but as a whole, but I mean, like you said, it's just 8 episodes. I mean, it's probably just easier for people to go watch it. I mean, and give your initial results. And I know they're a fan, and it means a lot more to you than it does to me. But we can go on and on about the details, and like the atmosphere. Just the way Dracula's accent and the cadence in which he speaks, and how he chooses words wisely, and he doesn't shout he doesn't just talk immediately like a lot of the other characters. He is very reserved and very forward-thinking with his thoughts. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a piece of media. And I don't mean to just ham on you, but you have a way of just talking yourself into circles.
Yeah, I do. That's fair.
I want you. So that's the important thing. But I also don't want you just to start dwelling on something that isn't going to sell the point. Like I said, it's new media. People need to go out and experience. Like it's not like some 20-year-old anime that we dug out of the grave that no one's ever going to see.
Yeah. So
also, I have a lot of media to go over.
Matthew,
Go and watch Castlevania.
what would you give it, Matthew?
What's your rating? How do I get mine?
I would an 8.5.
Okay.
Commendable.
Now, Sterling, you've been watching the second iteration of Digimon.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
How about you give us your review on that?
Oh my gosh. Alright, so of course I've been doing this whole series review from one
all Digimons.
From 1 to infinity.
Yep. Digital Monstars.
Yeah, Monstars, yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, where to start? Okay, Digimon Adventure 1 was like a very nostalgic trip back to the past. And it was very middling, like a 7 on 10. It was like, it's a very kid show made for kids by slaved kids, yeah. And it was just all fine and dandy, and that was like pretty in the way of, even though this is a kid's show, we're gonna show all this stuff that is like, hey, you little kid, the real world isn't all like happy sunshines and stuff like that, but you can deal with that. You can deal with those problems. You can grow out of it. It'll get better. Hashtag and all that. Cracker Jacks. For what it did fine. Now Digimon Adventure 2, for whatever reason, was like, hey, that Digimon Adventure 1 did pretty good. Why don't we just capitalize it on it and just forget almost everything that made it good? But hey, that one thing that wasn't that great in that Digimon? Let's make the actual antagonists cool and intriguing. Oh, okay. But let's forget everything else that made it also cool. But with that, Digimon Adventure 2 was very, very just a slog to sit through. It was just not really all that intriguing. There's also a whole lot of rules that it breaks throughout the whole show, even when they make them themselves. And it's just like, wow, dude, okay. I think they just went full ham on just like, man, we're just going to capitalize on the importance of Digimon Adventure 1 and just have it a cash cow. Hopefully, let's hope. And then when that fails 20 billion years later, like, hey, why don't we just make Adventure Try? Oh boy, that will certainly help everything.
Adventure Try again.
But yeah, it's...
Until you get to 3. 3 is good, and then 4 is garbage.
Yeah, it's a 4. It's a 4 out of 10.
Digimon is like an every other. It's like you skip a generation to get the good ones. Like, the first one's good, third one's good. I don't know anything after the 4th one, because that's when I just really stopped watching.
Yeah. But I have watched the 2 movies that came after this, or like in between.
Yeah.
This one, which is Hurricane Touchdown. It's a very complicated other alternate title, but Touchdown, Hurricane, whatever. That one is in the movie of Digimon, the movie 2000, presented by the wondrous Angela Anaconda. But yeah, that one is like almost as horrible as the show. The movie just spends way too long just getting to the point, and when it gets to the point, it's just like, oh yeah, we had these things all along. We can definitely do this. Like, complete the entire show. I was like, alright, whatever. But that one was just a middling thing. It was like, whatever. That will be up in like maybe a few days or whatever. And then the other one, which is actually a movie, kind of hams off of the last Digimon 01 movie, which is The Return of Diabolomon, the coolest movie in that series. And they did a fairly good job of presenting a quote-unquote sequel to that movie. And it was pretty fun. I'm kind of surprised that the animation quality didn't even like go down in these two movies, of how horrible the animation was in 02 compared to 01 as a series. But other than that, I mean, if I could ever choose not to ever watch this again, I would totally 100% do that again for the entire series.
Slam that forget juice.
Yeah. But hopefully Digimon Tamers is something that I can get behind. A lot of people get
edgier and successful in being edgier. Let me put it that way.
A lot of people like to get behind that one Digimon from Tamers, that yellow fox. You know, cough cough. But I ain't saying nothing. I don't know. I don't know about that, yo.
If we're gonna talk about that, I mean, you might as well. Pokemon like there's some pretty big hitters as well.
Yeah,
but that's for a different secret podcast.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I've got through. It took me at least like freaking like maybe 2 months, maybe, or maybe a little bit less.
It's a slog, yeah. It's a long slog.
But that was just me being like, oh, this. After these 15 episodes, I'm just gonna be like, oh boy. And then the next 15 episodes, and then the next, and the next, and the next. And it was just like, whatever. But at least Stingmon was there to help me.
Nurse you back to health.
Help me through my difficult times of watching this slog. But yeah, that's me.
I'm honestly surprised that you like stuck to your guns for that long, because from what I can remember of the Digimon franchise as a whole, it unfortunately doesn't have that essence that you need to watch something again and enjoy as a adult. Like, I loved Digimon back when I was a kid, but I couldn't see myself like checking it out now and getting the same kind of enjoyment out of it. So kudos to you actually for
and it was
the most important thing is that they brought back Leon. Definitely isn't a pedophile from season.
I try to forget, but I never can quite.
Never forgetty.
Yeah.
But have you Sterling?
Yes.
On this voyage, is that all you've seen? You've seen movies besides Digimon related ones?
Anything else other than that?
I've been kind of in and out. Like,
recently. That's right. I watched the entire franchise of Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah.
And pretty much what I can tell you, which surprisingly enough, every reviewer agrees with me, is that I believe episode 4 and episode 7 of the Friday the 13th movies are the only good ones, and I 100% agree with them. Everything else is just Like Jason X is like one of those horrible cringy things, but it's like one of those like it's so bad that it's kind of like funny in a way.
It's campy enough that it's fun.
And like Freddy versus Jason has its funny high moments and its kind of low moments, but that was because surprisingly enough, it was directed by a Hong Kong filmmaker, so that a lot of that stuff like bleeds through, and it's like, oh wow, that's very showing. And the actual new remake of Friday the 13th was actually pretty okay. I didn't really have any problems with it, but it was like not really as great or as fun and watchable as Part 4 and Part 7.
Who directed that again?
Rob Zombie.
Was it Rob Zombie? Are you sure?
Yeah, Rob Zombie did the new Halloween. Wait, which new Halloween?
No, I'm talking about Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah, no. I'm on. Yeah, no, never mind. Yeah.
But yeah, there nothing really to talk about. But I will say that I'm very surprised that this garnered a cult following and is very popular. Like, it was only like made because of Halloween was made, and they were like, oh hey, that worked, let's make our own thing and like copy off of them, and they make their own thing. But
well, I try to make like an edgier, like serial killer, like, oh, he's from hell and blah blah blah. And
yeah. And it was also, since I was watching a lot of other reviewers like talk about it, like Angry Video Game Nerd and Ralph the Movie Maker, people like that, they were like talking about these movies being like I guess a door opening for like indie directors to like get their foot in the door of like directing stuff. So because all these movies were all directed by indie people, like most of them at least, and they had like, I guess that was their like quote unquote unity thing to get started with until they make their own stuff,
Yeah.
And like, I can totally like understand that, but I just can never really wrap my head around how people actually like these films for what they even are.
Well, people like the Chucky series after the first one, so Child's Play.
Child's Play's on a whole different level of like awesomeness until they get to like the later.
Until it keeps going and going and going.
Which
at least with the Friday the 13th stuff, they try and mix it up a whole bunch. So
yeah, and I actually kind of like the I believe from Part 4 to around Part 6 or 7 that they had like a little interconnected story in between, but with that one kid. But yeah, but at least for the very one little thing is that every time that Jason dies or is dealt with, quote unquote, he is 100% in that same state at the start of each other film. So it's nice to know that there's a continuation of sorts through that, at least. But yeah, other than that, Part 4 and Part 7 are the only ones you should really watch, because they're actual movies. And that's me, man.
Who are you? That's me.
Josiah, did you check out any stuff independent of the two of us that you wanna list off?
Oh, dude, I watched so much media while we were on hiatus there. So, okay, let's go with movies first. So I watched Hereditary podcast, and I watched The Shape of Water.
Shape of Water, oh yeah.
Hereditary is an amazing film that I was really upset that I watched alone because it hurt me inside. I really don't want to do any spoilers, but this movie is an onion. Let me put it that way. There's many layers, and if you are not if you are not a good enough chef and can peel back the layers, you will not understand this film, which is why I got such a controversial rating in the box office. Because is it one of those? This is scary because most of it could actually happen. And so, if you haven't checked it out, I would definitely say to check it out. Especially if you had Discord in your family at one point. It really does paint. What I'm trying to say is that it paints the family perspective very interesting, especially when you have a family member with special needs, and how that affects your daily life and your communication as a family. definitely does delve into the supernatural, so I'm not trying to say that that's like a red herring, but it really, most of the scary stuff in this movie is the supernatural stuff, and that's what makes it a great thriller. It's not a horror film, it's a thriller. Yep. And I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, and I went in without knowing anything, so I suggest you do the same.
Good.
And I don't want to say much anything else. Because it would spoil the film, but it was definitely probably the best horror film I've seen all year, without a doubt. Or the best, thriller, sort of supernatural type. I wouldn't really put it in the horror film genre, but I mean it's hard because it's one of those out of the box ones,
Yeah.
And it was very refreshing. Also, the acting was very well done by all the children, which is always a good spectacle. So, yeah, just go out and watch that one. Shape of Water I watched just because it was, funny enough, where the movie store that I bought both these movies at, it happened to be near it on the shelf. So I'm just like, oh, well, that's a continuing movie. Might as well watch that. I've heard some mixed reviews about that as well.
Yeah.
And man, oh man, is that it's a reverse. It's an inverse of the Monster from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
And it's basically it's a love letter to that.
Now I watched that as well. Did you like it?
Oh, I really liked it. Yeah.
All right. I
heard nothing
extremely in
I've
love
heard nothing but good things about it so far, but I haven't checked it out.
Well, that movie's also an onion, and so people are going to say good things for one reason, and then there's people who say good things for the right reason about that. Now, there's definitely a lot of things they could have done differently or better in the movie, but as far as it goes, like for me, like a classic, like creature feature guy. I really enjoyed it. The costume and the makeup for the monster was amazing. Very well done. I really enjoyed his design, and the ending was surprising as well. I kind of because it's such an old style, and it's like the 50s it's set in, and so it really kind of I'm not saying it's complete curve, but it definitely wasn't the ending that I was expecting going into the film. So it was nice to see.
But at least it was like trickled through the story before.
Yeah. They definitely dropped some clues that I picked up, and like at the very end, like the last couple scenes, I figured it out. But but like knowing how these sort of stories go, it didn't really fall into the stereotypical endings that usually happen. Like I said, it's kind of an inverse of the Creature from Black Lagoon. So it was definitely felt like it was paying homage to that, and they really liked the monster, and it was kind of like the. I don't know. It was an interesting story between the characters and going back between the monster and their everyday lives, and just each character had a decent amount of time dedicated to him, and it was very well fleshed out. So as far as that goes, it was very very meticulous, and I liked the settings and the backgrounds. Everything made sense within the universe for this monster, and so that was good. But they didn't try and over-explain anything.
Yep.
And they didn't even put subtitles with all the Russian speaking, so which is even better because you had to read the facial expressions and read the room. So it was definitely a movie for people who like to pick up on the subtleties, because there's hardly any talking in the movie. I mean, there's stuff that's necessary, but besides that, the main character is deaf, or almost deaf, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed it. I would definitely give that probably 7.5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sounds good.
And then, so from there, we switch over to TV. I watched the new Sabrina series, on Netflix. And it started out very strong, and the ending has been a bit sad. Because it kind of built up this whole thing of resisting and not doing this one thing, and then in the last episode it's like, hey, we're barely going to motivate you to do this, and you could probably do stuff and not do this, but you're going to choose to do this even though the entire rest of the season, the other 9 episodes, you've been refusing to do this, and then it's going to take a 5-minute decision and you're going to do it. So that was my biggest gripe with Sabrina. Other than that, like, it was cast very well. It's very difficult to read these new Archie comic series because it's like they're set back in the 50s and 60s when they were originally written, but they have like cell phones and computers. Also, they talk about a book being banned, and I'm like, why couldn't you just buy it on Amazon? Or illegally downloaded as a PDF, there's a lot more options. Also, they use a lot of they do go out to some low hanging fruit with the whole female perspective when they talk about fascism and non-binary people, and this isn't the focus of it, but there are some things about it that are definitely a little bit of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Also, the biggest part for me is that so Sabrina has 2 friends in this besides Harvey, her boyfriend. And Harvey is pretty well fleshed out, and his character becomes a little bit goopy at the end. With its motivations, it's first it has very clear motivations. It's like kind of goes soft on a lot of things and kind of turns tables really easily for no reason. And then we have Susie and Roz, and Roz is one of Sabrina's best friends. She's African American. She's the one who talks. You usually using buzzwords a whole bunch, and they say smash the patriarchy at one point.
Oh boy!
So within the series there is a patriarchy with the warlocks and the witches that, in which there's a high priest, and there is an actual patriarchy in the church. So that one I can forgive. Okay, there's actually there's an actual patriarchy in this universe, and that's something you have to get over. And I had to get over that for a second because I was just like, oh, that's a little preachy. But then I'm like, oh no, wait, okay. As the series went on, it made more sense.
Yeah.
But so that's forgivable. That's a non-issue at this point. And then so she is losing her sight a little bit, and she's one of her best friends, and she has this ability called cunning, in which she can sometimes see into the future a little bit or read people's fortunes. It's not very explained very well, and so it's kind of just like mysterious. And basically her whole family, all the girls born into her family, lose their eyesight at some point because they're cursed by a witch in the old times, and but they developed this cunning ability, and her grandma is trying to teach her how to do that, and so this kind of fleshes her character out a little bit more. Rosalind, and but at first she's just kind of like a 2-dimensional character. Same with Susie. Susie is non-binary. She's very androgynous. She's very in between. She doesn't really like to dress like a girl, and so she gets bullied very much because this is like the 60s style of bullying, which somehow still happens today for some reason. Because, like I said, it's like in this weird alternate universe, kind of like Riverdale, but that's the thing with her, is that she learns about her dead relative and how important she was, and how she was this girl who did a lot of guy things back in the actual 60s, and or actually I think it's back in the early 1900s, and she was she kind of just was a go-getter and did whatever she wanted and didn't care what people said or how society thought about her and this and that. But and everybody keeps thinking sorry for Susie because she keeps being bullied and picked on by the jocks and beat up, and but she never develops a character, and that's my biggest gripe with Sabrina as far as that goes, is that the secondary characters aren't fleshed out. And I understand it's the first season, and the Spellmans, her cousin, and her aunts, and some witches and warlocks get more attention than Susie, but it's just kind of hard because in the beginning you're going back and forth half, and so it's just they pay so much attention to this stuff, and they just leave the normal stuff just kind of hanging for a bit. And hopefully that'll be smoothed over in season 2. I don't know, but there's definitely season 2 coming out. So as far as I say, it's pretty good because originally it was made for the CW. but then Netflix picked it up, and so you can tell it was made for the CW because of certain choices. And so I can forgive it for some of the things like that, because they kind of had to switch directions halfway through. But overall, it's pretty good. Like Archie comics are pretty good on the for the most part. And it was definitely entertaining. Like I said, there's some pretty good acting, and there was some pretty good aspects to it. It's definitely campy. It's definitely horror themed, and so it's a fun watch. It's nothing too deep though. But the deep thing I want to talk about next is The Haunting of Hill House, which I watched on Netflix. Also a 10-part series. And this is based off a book. And it is my favorite TV show. This is my favorite American TV show to come out in, the last 5-6 years.
Even better than Stranger Things?
Oh man, this blows Stranger Things by the water. You know what I mean? I don't want to ruin it. It's best going in without knowing any prior knowledge. It is about families, and it's about the Hill House. And you have to watch all the way through it as quickly as you can to get everything, because there are bits and pieces scattered through this thing like a 4,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. And so it's my favorite type of drama. It's a drama. It's a horror drama, and it's not a thriller. And so there are some aspects that are like Hereditary in the series, which brought me to it, and it has great dynamic between the good child actors. Its special effects are okay. They could have been better, but I mean, they really spent most of the budget on a lot of other things as well. Which I rather have the scenery than the CGI animals are going to be CGI no matter what you do. So that's fine, and they use it very sparingly, and it never pulled me out of it. But the important thing is that the more you get to know these characters, because you get these characters as a face family, and so it's basically kind of like Stephen King's It, in which you start out they're adults, and then they go back and remember this when we were kids, and then you start going back and see, and each episode is a different child's story on how they grew up, and then the fathers, and then the mothers, and then the last episode. And so it's very interesting to see their different perspectives, their take on everything, and man, oh man, it subverts almost all the characters from how everybody sees them from the outside, basically. And once you figure out the true story, and man, that last episode is definitely an interesting one. It did not end the way that I thought it was going to end, and it was definitely a wild ride. I give it a 9 out of 10.
So does this end, or
yes, this ends right
already
there. It is complete, full circle. All loose ends are tied, and I would definitely recommend it. Like I said, it's the best television show I've seen made by English. It was directed and written, adapted from the book by one person. So it is sacred. It is not touched by 6 people's hands.
Yep.
Which is what I would like to say is the Netflix factor, because Netflix is giving all these small time people a chance to get bigger time, where the big networks wouldn't allow something like this, and so it's really showing some people flexing creativity, and cause it's each one is about an hour. It's about 53 minutes each one. Some of them go over it. It's like an hour and 7 minutes. 1 or 2 of them, but it makes for very well set up episodes, and it's something you couldn't do with traditional TV. And I'm really glad this was made, because it shows how well you can make a good TV show outside of the normal parameters. But yeah, this. I mean, it's got 92 on Metacritic and a 90 on Rotten Tomatoes. It's pretty high up there, and so and it's almost all unknowns as far as the acting goes. There's a couple. The mother was the original whatever her name was from the Watchmen movie. I forget what the
yellow suit.
Yeah, she was the first generation back in the old flashbacks, and she did 1 or 2 other things, but all these other guys, TV actors, never watched before. newbies, and so that's pretty well. And I think I've seen the father in one and two other things, but like I said, it's relatively fresh casting, and so it was definitely easy to pick up. It's also another family-oriented, drama, and it sucked me in immediately. So if you have Netflix, I would definitely recommend watching it at some point. And then the last thing that I saw was Bohemian Rhapsody.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, Bohemian Rhapsody, although it does take to telling, it's a biopic about Freddie Mercury from when he joins Queen thereon. And so it goes back between Queen and his personal life, basically. And it's definitely they did have to make some choices to shorten it, but as far as pacing goes, and as far as acting and soundtrack, and just how they did everything was amazing. I mean, it's the best biopic I've ever seen, and it definitely was done correctly, I think. There wasn't a moment that I ever got taken out of the film. There wasn't a moment where I was bored in film. And like I said, like it's up to 80%. It's accurate, or maybe even higher than that. But because like whenever he first joins Queen, it's like he acts like he's never been in a band before, and he's selling himself and blah blah blah. But he had been in a couple bands before that, and he'd actually lived in a flat with a couple of the guys from the band before. Yeah. And so it takes a couple liberties, but I mean, as far as the core film goes, I loved it. Rami Malek was the guy who played Freddie Mercury, and he actually, so for every single song they sing in the film, I want to show him recording, or anytime that Freddie's supposed to be singing in the film, that's actually Rami Malek, a professional Freddie Mercury impersonator, and Freddie Mercury's actual voice all blended together. So he's actually singing throughout the entire film, and that's why the lip sync is so perfect. It is because he's actually singing, and they actually fold everything in together, and so it's such an amazing integrated system that they use to do that. And I'm really excited because the same production team is making Rocket Man, and it's going to be an Elton John film coming next summer, which I'm very excited for. Also, all the outfits they put Rami Malek in were ridiculous and amazing. So I mean, it's for a guy who loves Queen as much as I do, it was definitely a fun time. And like I said, I mean, it touched on the serious issues, and there were some pretty tear-jerking moments. I mean, as far as some of the more personal moments between Freddie and his love interest, there were, I mean, all of those were historically accurate, like down to a single conversation, that the biggest conversation, so to speak. And so I was very impressed. Like, Rami Malek sold at home. Like, and he's not a method actor. That's the most amazing thing. But he just, like, as soon as he got the part, he immediately started taking piano lessons and singing lessons, and went over to London and like looked at all his usual spots and started talking to the band members that are still alive. And it's a really great experience. I really loved it. It's probably my movie of the year. I had so much fun watching it. I'd watch it again 5 or 6 times. It's definitely rewatchable. I mean, I don't know how to sing its praises anymore.
Yeah,
I give it a 10 out of 10. Honestly, it's an experience. It's a full experience. There are, to my knowledge, no big weaknesses. Maybe little gripes here and there, but no big weaknesses to this film. Everything, it just flows together so well, and they got the pacing just right for all the events. And there are serious moments, there are funny moments. Every single zinger that Freddie Mercury says, it sounds like Freddie Mercury was saying himself. From somebody like myself who's seen all the old interviews with Freddie, it's like he was reincarnated, basically. And so I was blown away, because I thought it was going to be good. I didn't know it would be this good. So, and there's some people who are saying it's not that good, like critical. He gave a pretty scathing review about it. online, and I thought that was a little uncalled for, and that he needs to go to Twitter, apologize, and cut out his nuts, and send him to Rainy Malik, to apologize. And I'm giving him 48 hours, but no, I love this movie. That's just it. Like, because usually after a first viewing, you start having those little things, you start remembering things, and this and that, and this whole week. Like the whole week after. Immediately getting out of the theater, I just started playing Queen's music. Like, for the last week, that's all I've been listening to is Queen. So,
I've got a friend who also knocked us off pretty recently. He was a little bit more critical, where he could only give it a 7 on a 10. What it came down to for him was the fact that he didn't really feel that the film got a correct balance on trying to explore Freddie himself or Queen as a whole, and he felt that a balance wasn't really adhered to very well.
that's the thing, is that so many people. Queen. It's not about Queen. It's about Freddie Mercury and his involvement in Queen. Uh-huh. And so that's people keep coming saying, "Oh, it's a Freddie story. It's like Freddie from birth." No, it's not Freddie from birth. People saying, "Oh, it's Queen. It's all about Queen. We're going to look at all the members equally." No, it's not about Queen. It's about Freddie Mercury and his involvement in Queen. And they hit all the major staples. They hit all the important venues, all the big key marks. And some people, I don't know. The critical said the same thing. He's like, "Oh, it's like somebody read a Wikipedia article and said, oh, this is way too much for a movie," and so they just like cut half. They just went into Microsoft Summarize and cut half of it. But that's just it. Like each scene and and the flow of events, which is for the most part chronological, except for a couple flashbacks here and there, from the beginning of the movie. Because the beginning of the movie starts at the end of the movie, and then it flashes back, and then that's when everything starts. But it's very tastefully done. I don't know why people are having such a hard time understanding what type of biopic this movie is. But that's one of the biggest things about it, and I think it flowed quite well. Like I said, it shows Freddie's involvement with the band, and the band has like a certain amount of aspect to it. But that's just it. It's not the band isn't the focus. It's how Freddie Mercury is in the band.
All right, cool. Just want to make that distinction, basically. Like, this is the Freddie Mercury story, like above all else, basically.
Well, no. And like I said, it's not the Freddie Mercury story. It's the Freddie Mercury story when he was in Queen.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when he joined Queen to the end of his life.
Fair enough.
So that's the important thing. That's why it goes back between Freddie and Queen, because it shows him on his professional on the stage and how he interacts and how his personal life. And the most important part about this, and the reason why they did it in snippets like this, and I don't understand why people don't understand this.
Uh-huh.
Is that it shows, like, what it does is it shows a new album coming up, or it shows Freddie going through a difficult part of his life and how that demonstrates into the album that they're working on. And because he was very much fueled by recent events in his music, and he took a lot of influence by his personal life with the songs that he came up with. And so as far as like his songs in the album now, in the early work there was all of them owned at the albums, but later on they all started working in tandem with each other. But it showed like, okay, so when he did like the Bohemian Rhapsody album, he was going through this part of his life, and that's why these songs were featured, and that's why these ones are so compelling, and and it skips some albums and here and there, but it touches it. The thing is that it's mostly just showing, like I said, Freddie's involvement in the band, and not so much the band and how Freddie interacted with them.
I'll be sure to give this a look through, see how things go.
Mm-hmm. The thing is that it can't dive too deep into Queen, and it can't dive too deep into Freddie without going to like 4-hour movie. And so right. I think it balanced it very well, because the acting was so stellar and it was so seamless from all the characters. They all like look exactly like the band members. It's remarkable, like how well the casting was done. And And so, with that and how the flow of events goes and how it shows the back and forth between the band and Freddie and his personal life and how much it affected him and how much the fame affected him, it really does show a pretty good story of the frontman known as Freddie Mercury.
Cool.
Sounds good.
It also talks a lot about Freddie's family and the start of the band, and it touches back on that near the end as well. Because see the between, because he really wasn't in touch with his family at that time, it's you have to see it for yourself before you go into dive into any other things. But like people are just so critical with this, and that's the thing is that it's a very fun and very engaging movie. Like it feels like a man's life, and his ambition rather, and just his Freddie's rocket to stardom, his ego inflating, him falling into a deep depression, and then his redemption. Like, I don't see how that's such an unusual, story to follow.
Yeah.
But apparently people just don't understand. So, just like they didn't understand Freddie, big metaphor.
Cough, cough.
Not bad.
Is that it for us tonight, folks?
Pretty much, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've knocked off what we need to knock off. We're looking fine and dandy. What are you guys checking out within the next week that we can be hyped for 7 days from now?
Oh boy, I'll go first if nobody else is going to go up to this little plate.
Sure, you go first while I think for a second.
This upcoming week, hopefully, for whatever reason, there will be something coming out, hopefully, with what I'm doing art-wise. Maybe some kind of animation of sorts, maybe not.
Maybe some more? Maybe some Digimon?
But yeah.
Only hope.
There's not really anything else other than the kind of stuff that I'm into, which is just art at the moment. Going through, of course, Digimon Tamers, finishing up writing on those two movies, and maybe gonna do a watch together, maybe not, of Angela Anaconda Presents the Digimon Movie 2000. Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Now you have to understand that when it happens this much, I'm just gonna start to refuse to rise to your provocations.
Yeah. And I will say one last thing. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a 10 out of 10. Period.
Looks pretty good.
Let's see, I'm looking forward to The Grib, which is back. I just haven't gotten myself to McDonald's to find it yet. I'm looking forward to Creed 2, which comes out in like a little more than a week. I'm also going to see Minions 7, The Grinch. Because it looks awful and it looks like the Emoji Movie times 10. Same thing with Ralph Breaks the Internet. Never going to watch that.
Yeah,
it looks like they just reused all the assets from Emoji Movie and just put another color palette swap on it. So if you do that, I'm very disappointed, and so is America in you.
The 30 seconds worth of content that I've seen from Ralph Breaks the Internet essentially does look like the Emoji Movie to me as well, so I don't know if I'm even going about it.
I'm just hoping they got that sweet Dropbox money. But
you can only watch so much cringe before you become desensitized to it. I don't know.
Also there's this really cringy came out. What was it? It is crap. What was it called? There's this new Revolt movie.
A Revolt
against the current. What is it? Let's see. New 2019 trailer. Give me 1 second. It was really stupid. You know how the the Purge movies are like, oh hey, we're doing the first Purge and we're gonna make it like a commentary on Donald Trump. This one is doing that, but like because there's so many like, oh, we need to resist old movies bad and blah blah blah, a whole bunch of Captive State. That's what it's called, Captive State. And this one isn't even trying. All the main characters are black and minorities, black and women, and basically there's this huge thing. It's like the trailer's like the media says that the unemployment is falling, but it's really not. They're killing people, and then oh, the government says like the GDP is up, well, it's really not. The rich are just getting richer and lying to you, and it's just like, and it's the most bold face, like not even trying to be subtle at all. There's no like
artistic integrity of sorts.
Not even artistic integrity, but there's no like. It's not a political satire. It's not like. It's not a subversion. It's not. It's not a commentary piece. It's just like this is what we think is going on, and we're just delusional, basically. Because I mean, like, there's always going to be movies about resisting authority, and like, it's going to be like a social. What's what I mean? It's trying to be like a social commentary, but there's no like subtlety to it. There's no nuances.
Yeah.
I mean, the trailer came out 2 days ago, and man, oh man, it looked like the biggest piece ever. I mean, like, I can forgive, the Purge, doing it and this and that, because it's all about gimmicky, it's over the top gimmicky, and that's the sort of thing that needs to have to be able to draw the people that want to watch it, That's fine. I'm not going to complain about the Purge, but of course it's going to be on the nose. But something that's trying to be a political commentary that's just like completely outrageous and might involve aliens for some reason.
Oh boy! I
don't know. Go watch the Captive State trailer. You'll be interested for one reason or another. But so that's what I'm looking forward to and what I'm not looking to. Also, looking forward to the Fortnite dance in JoJo coming up this next week. So,
oh boy,
Matthew, what are you looking to?
The Fortnite dance that's coming up in JoJo.
Oh boy,
great minds think alike.
At the end of the day, we really don't need to dwell on much more than that. I am bouncing between a couple of different games, but nothing that I really care enough about going into now to really dig deep into the intricacies of. I will get back to that if I knock off anything in a proper fashion. I'm probably going to be beating Mega Man 11 soon, but beyond that, not much to say. Gotta get it. Yeah, that's right. Not much to say. That game's pretty fucking good, but there's something about the visual style that's completely fucking with my eyes. Like I don't know if it's just the 3D models moving on a 2D plane that's fucking with my depth perception. It's something in Mega Man 11 that is messing with the old eye sockets. I'll probably still be able to make my way through it, and then I can talk about it a bit. But for now, all is going well. Now that I've knocked off Rocky 1 as of tonight, I'm probably going to move on to some more of these once my interest is still peaked. My original plan was to skip straight to Creed now that I've watched Rocky 1. Mm-hmm. Now I'm not so sure if I'm going to commit to that thought, but I will let you all know how things go. And then
you gotta watch all the way to at least Rocky 4, because that plays into Creed.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Yeah, just with the passage of events and what's his big black guy? What's his name? Apollo Creed. Yeah,
Apollo Creed. You mean the title? Okay.
Well, ding ding,
Yeah. Uh huh.
The secret one, the underground boxing match.
Yeah.
The original Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to this. I don't quite have a context yet, but this will be corrected shortly. I'm to be honest with you, not even going to have much time to knock off more new content because the little time that I do have to myself to do that is probably going to be devoted to wrapping up Ike, which I am looking forward to talking about in the next manga review, because over the course of this next coming week, I'm going to be hanging out with my brother, which means that I'm going to be knocking off content for a second time that I've already seen, because he wants to watch it with me. So quite a bit of recap, but fun recap. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just get some quality time with the brother, and that's about it. Not much else to say about what's coming up for me. But it should be a fun week. I guess that's about it for this SAF podcast. It's been a bit of a. It's a bit of a.
I'm gonna start a new exit phrase for us. Okay. You boys ready?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Just chime in when you figure it out. Okay.
All right.
Got it.
Okay. So what do we say at the end of each podcast? Don't eat bananas. Okay.
All right. Not bad.
Don't even. All right. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Gotta get that potassium.
Oh boy. Good night. Good morning. However, you listen to this podcast. Bye bye.